In Genoa City, things are never quiet for long, and right now, fans of The Young and the Restless are starting to notice something unexpected. There's a new wave of speculation building, and it's all centered around Kyle Abbott and Victoria Newman. At first, it might sound surprising. Maybe even a little shocking. But the more you look closely, the more it starts to make sense, at least from a fan theory perspective. Now, let's rewind a bit. Kyle Abbott has recently gone through a major emotional shift. For a long time, he held on to hope that things with Claire Newman might somehow work out. There was unfinished business there, unresolved feelings, and a sense that maybe their story wasn't completely over. But now, that hope seems to be gone. Kyle has finally accepted that whatever he and Claire had, it's over. And when someone reaches that point, when they truly let go, that's usually when something new begins. Instead of focusing on romance, Kyle has been pouring his energy into family matters. Specifically, he's been trying to help Jack Abbott and Diane Jenkins rebuild their marriage. It hasn't been easy. There's been tension, emotional wounds, and a lot of complicated history between them. Kyle stepping in shows just how much he cares about his family, and maybe also how much he's trying to distract himself from his own personal heartbreak. But here's where things get interesting. While Kyle has been busy dealing with family drama, fans have started to notice a pattern. He keeps showing up around Victoria Newman. Not in an obvious or romantic way, at least not yet. But enough that people are starting to ask questions. Why are they sharing so many scenes? Why do they keep crossing paths? And more importantly, is it just coincidence? Or is the show quietly setting something up? Because in soap operas, nothing is ever random. Every interaction, every conversation, every glance, it can all mean something more. And fans are very good at picking up on those subtle clues. That's exactly why this theory about Kyle and Victoria is gaining so much attention right now. It's not based on one big moment. It's based on a series of small ones. Moments that, on their own, might not seem like much, but together, start to form a pattern. And once fans see a pattern, they start connecting the dots. So the big question becomes: are Kyle and Victoria just friends, or is there something deeper slowly building beneath the surface? Because if there is, it could change everything. As this theory continues to build, fans aren't just guessing randomly, they're pointing to specific moments that feel a little too intentional to ignore. And one of the biggest moments goes back to New Year's Eve. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't over the top. But sometimes, the quiet moments are the ones that matter most. Kyle Abbott and Victoria Newman shared a simple bonding moment as they prepared to ring in the new year. On the surface, it felt friendly, maybe even casual. But looking back now, fans are starting to see it differently. Because in soap operas like The Young and the Restless, those small scenes often plant the seeds for something much bigger later on. That New Year's interaction wasn't romantic. There was no flirting. No obvious tension. But there was comfort. There was ease. And sometimes, that's how it begins. Now fast forward to the present, and things feel slightly different. Kyle and Victoria are still crossing paths. Still having conversations. Still appearing in each other's orbit. But now, there's a bit more weight behind it. A bit more tension. And that tension might not just be emotional, it could be situational. Because right now, there's a lot happening around them, especially involving Victor Newman. Victor's latest drama has created pressure across multiple relationships, and that kind of stress can push people closer together in unexpected ways. When two people are dealing with chaos at the same time, they often find comfort in each other. Even if they don't mean to. Even if they don't plan for it. And that's where things start to get complicated. Because Kyle is coming out of heartbreak. Victoria, on the other hand, seems to be stuck in something uncertain. Her relationship with Nate Hastings? It's not exactly moving forward. In fact, many fans feel like it's completely stalled. There's no clear direction. No strong momentum. And when a relationship reaches that point, it creates space. Space for doubt. Space for distance. And sometimes, space for someone new to step in. That's why this theory is starting to feel less like a random idea and more like a possibility. Not because Kyle and Victoria have done anything obvious, but because the circumstances around them are slowly lining up. Two people, both emotionally vulnerable in different ways, both dealing with complicated situations, both constantly finding themselves in the same place at the same time. That's not usually an accident in Genoa City. So now fans are watching more closely than ever, looking for signs, listening to every conversation, trying to catch even the smallest hint of something more. Because if this is leading where they think it is, then things are about to get very messy. At this point, the conversation among fans has shifted. This is no longer just about subtle moments or quiet interactions. Now, people are asking a much bigger question. What if this actually turns into a full-blown scandal? Because let's be honest, if Kyle Abbott and Victoria Newman crossed that line, it wouldn't just be unexpected. It would be explosive. And maybe even a little controversial. One of the biggest reasons for that? Claire. Kyle's most recent emotional connection was with Claire Newman. And if fans are right about where this could be heading, that would mean Kyle ends up involved with both the daughter and her mother. That kind of storyline? It definitely brings an awkward factor. But at the same time, this is The Young and the Restless. And if there's one thing this show is known for, it's pushing boundaries and creating shocking relationship twists. So while some viewers might find the idea uncomfortable, others see it as classic soap drama. Bold, risky, and impossible to ignore. Now let's talk about another factor fans keep bringing up, the age gap. Yes, Victoria is older than Kyle. But in the world of daytime drama, that's rarely a deal breaker. We've seen similar dynamics before, and audiences usually focus more on chemistry and storytelling than numbers. In fact, some fans even compare it to other unexpected pairings on the show where age differences didn't stop anything from happening. So from that perspective, Kyle and Victoria? It's not as impossible as it might seem at first. And then there's the biggest what if of all. What if it's not even a full relationship? What if it's just one moment? A one-night decision? Something unplanned? Something emotional? Something that happens in the heat of the moment and changes everything afterward? Because sometimes, the most powerful storylines don't come from long-term romances. They come from one single mistake. Imagine this. Kyle and Victoria, both dealing with stress, confusion, and emotional pressure. One conversation turns deeper than expected. One moment lasts a little longer than it should. And suddenly, they cross a line they can't uncross. That kind of twist? It would send shockwaves through Genoa City. And it wouldn't just affect them. It would affect Claire. It would affect their families. It would create fallout that could last for months. That's exactly why fans can't stop talking about it. Because even though nothing has happened yet, the possibility alone is enough to spark major buzz. So now the speculation continues to grow. Is this just fans imagining drama where there is none? Or is the show quietly building toward one of its most shocking twists yet? Because if it happens, no one will be ready for it. If this shocking theory actually becomes reality, the biggest impact wouldn't just be the moment itself. It would be what comes after. Because in The Young and the Restless, actions always have consequences, and this one could hit harder than anyone expects. Let's start with the person who would be affected the most. Claire. If she finds out that Kyle and Victoria crossed a line, it wouldn't just hurt. It would feel like a betrayal from both sides. Kyle is someone she shared a deep emotional connection with. Even if things didn't work out, that kind of bond doesn't just disappear overnight. There are still feelings there, maybe unspoken, maybe unresolved. And then there's Victoria. Her own mother. Someone Claire is still trying to reconnect with and understand on a deeper level. So imagine discovering that both of them, two people she trusted in completely different ways, ended up together. That kind of situation? It doesn't just create drama. It creates emotional chaos. Claire's reaction wouldn't be simple. It wouldn't be just anger, or just sadness. It would likely be a mix of everything. Shock, confusion, hurt, and maybe even a sense of history repeating itself in ways she never wanted. Because Claire has already been through so much. Her past, her struggles, everything she's tried to overcome. Moments like this could pull her right back into emotional instability. And that's where things could take an even darker turn. Because when someone feels pushed to the edge, they don't always react in predictable ways. Now let's widen the lens a bit. This wouldn't just stay between Kyle, Victoria, and Claire. Their families would be pulled into it too. The Abbott family. The Newman family. Two of the most powerful families in Genoa City, already filled with tension, history, and conflict. Add something like this into the mix, and things could spiral very quickly. Jack Abbott, who has been relying on Kyle and trusting his judgment, might start to question everything. Victor Newman? That's a whole different level. He's known for protecting his family at all costs, and if he sees this as a threat or a betrayal, his reaction could be intense. And when Victor reacts, it's never small. This kind of storyline wouldn't just be about romance or scandal. It would be about consequences. About relationships breaking down. About trust being destroyed. And about whether any of it can ever truly be repaired. That's why fans are so invested in this possibility. Because it's not just about what if it happens. It's about what happens next. And in a world like this, the aftermath is always bigger than the moment itself. While fans are still debating the possibility of a Kyle and Victoria scandal, there's another storyline quietly building in the background, and it could become just as explosive. This time, the focus shifts to Audra Charles. And if there's one thing everyone knows about Audra, it's that she doesn't sit back and watch things happen. She makes moves. And right now, her attention is locked on Holden Novak and Claire. Holden and Claire have been reconnecting lately, growing closer again after everything that's happened. There's history there. There's emotion. And clearly, there's still something pulling them back toward each other. But not everyone is happy about it. Audra, in particular, is watching very closely, and she's not comfortable with how things are developing. Because the more time Holden spends with Claire, the more risk there is of certain secrets coming back to the surface. Especially the ones connected to Los Angeles. Secrets that were never meant to be fully exposed. And Audra knows it. That's why she might decide to take control of the situation in her own way. Now here's where things take an interesting turn. Holden's mother, Stephanie, has already met Claire, and surprisingly, that first impression went well. Claire came across as genuine, understanding, and someone who could actually relate to Holden's struggles. In fact, it seems like Holden may have already been speaking highly of Claire behind the scenes. Which only makes things worse for Audra. Because if Stephanie starts to trust Claire, that creates a stronger bond. And a stronger bond means more conversations, more openness, and a higher chance that the truth comes out. So what does Audra do? She plays her most dangerous card. She could decide to turn Stephanie against Claire. By bringing up Claire's past. The darker parts. The things that people might not fully understand at first glance. Audra might remind Stephanie about the hostage crisis. About the chaos that followed. About how Claire ended up in a very unstable place afterward. And she could frame it in a way that makes Claire seem like a threat. Not someone to trust. Not someone to welcome into the family. If that happens, it could completely shift Stephanie's perspective. And once a protective mother feels like her child is in danger, everything changes. But here's the twist. This plan might not go the way Audra expects. Because pushing Claire like that? Bringing up her past? Trying to isolate her? That could backfire. Instead of backing down, Claire might push back harder than ever. She might start asking questions. digging deeper, trying to uncover what really happened in Los Angeles. And if she does, then Audra could be the one who ends up in trouble. Because secrets don't stay buried forever in the young and the restless. Eventually, they come out. And when they do, the fallout is always bigger than anyone imagined. Direct hit final thought, perfect YouTube outro. So now everything is on edge. A possible scandal between Kyle and Victoria. A growing conflict between Audra and Claire. Secrets from the past threatening to explode at any moment. The question is, which storyline will explode first? And who will be left standing when it's all over? Because in Genoa City, nothing stays hidden forever.